Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be learning how to add polynomials. So without much further ado, let's go straight into our video. So starting off, you're probably wondering how do you add polynomials? And there are four easy steps you can use to do this. So the very first step is to remove the parentheses. 99% of the time, your polynomials are going to have parentheses in them, especially when you're trying to add them. And we remove those parentheses so that we can group them together, which leads us into our second step, grouping like terms. When you see, you're going to see a bunch of terms. And then when those terms have like the same like variables in them and the same coefficients and they look different from another term, but then you see it on the other side of the equation, you're going to want to group those together. So that goes into grouping like terms. The third step you're going to want to do is to add the coefficients. And lastly, the fourth step is to make sure it's written in standard form. Now, I do want to say that this video is not as visual heavy as we do a few examples. So I do prefer if you have your volume on or if you have sub captions on. But I really think having the volume on because it's more so a narration of these examples, more so than the visual ones that I do in other videos. So just a quick heads up because looking at so many polynomials with different terms can get a little difficult on the eyes, and that's okay because even for me, it's a little difficult, but I do try to do some color coding here. And another thing, I go over standard form in my polynomials introduction video. So if you don't know what that is, or you want to know a little bit more about polynomials and the more generals of it, I highly suggest you check that video out. So now going on to our example, I have 12x plus 8 minus 6x plus negative 4x minus 7 plus 2x. So remembering my first step, I'm going to want to remove the parentheses. So I'm going to rewrite my equation without the parentheses. Now my second step is to group like terms, and I'm going to identify some terms that I believe look alike. So starting off, I do see my x's. I have 12x, negative 6x, negative 4x, and 2x. So I'm going to group all these terms together. And when I do this, I'm going to do my operations. So 12x minus 6 gets me 6. 6 minus 4 gets me 2, negative 2. And then plus 2, actually, that's positive 2, excuse me. Plus 2 gets me 4. So now I have 4x. Okay? And I group those terms together and I solve them accordingly. Now I'm going to go back to the top and see other terms that I may have that look alike. And I see that would be 8 and 7. All right, so 8 and negative 7. So now I'm going to solve these. And when I do 8 minus negative 7, I get 1. So now I'm going to do my last and fourth step, which would be rewriting the equation in standard form. So I'm going to do 4x plus 1. This is written in standard form. And this is how I have simplified or solved adding polynomials for my first example. All right, so going on to my second example, I have 4x to the power of 2 y minus 3x y to the power of 2 plus 7. Now I'm going to go to the other side of my equation, plus 2x to the power of 2 y plus 9x y to the power of 2 minus 3. Now this equation is a little bit more trickier to look at because it's more variables and constants in it, and that's a-okay. We're just going to take it step by step. So once again, going back to that first step, removing the parentheses. So I'm simply going to rewrite my equation without the parentheses because we want to group the like terms, which would be our second step. So I'm going to identify some terms that look similar. So I noticed that I'm going to start my constants. I have 7, positive 7, and negative 3. These terms are alike. Now, going on to more terms I have 3xy to the power of 2, and I have 9xy to the power of 2. These two look the same, just different numbers in front of them, but they are still the same terms, and I could group them together because they are like terms. Okay, now going on to my last set of grouping terms, I have 4x to the power of 2, y, and I have 2x to the power of 2, y. So now that I know all my terms I can group together, I'm going to start solving them piece by piece. So starting off with the 9x y to the power of 2 minus 3xy to the power of 2. I'm going to solve this and I know I'm going to get 6xy to the power of 2. So I solved that set of like terms. Now I'm going to go to another set of like terms, and that would be 4x to the power of 2y minus 2x to the power of 2y. So now I have this, I'm going to simply solve it, and I'm going to get 2x to the power of 2y. Okay, so now we're going to go on to our last set of like terms, and this would be 7 minus 3, and when I do this, I actually get 4. So now I'm going to rewrite this in standard form. So what I'm simply going to do, rewrite in standard form, and I get 2x to the power of 2y plus 6x y to the power of 2 plus 4. All right? So this is how we went by those steps, and we really broke it up into smaller sections. That's really adding polynomials and really solving for them in general. You have to solve them in smaller sections, and then you'll be more apt to get the right answer. Now we're going to move on to our promotion time. So, as some of you may know, even if you look at my bio, I have started a TikTok, and I did this because I realized that maybe not everyone has the time in their day to watch a full length video, and that's a okay. Even I have it. And so, really, I want to make education more accessible. And doing that, I'm going to expand my platforms, such as going on TikTok, so you guys have more resources. Okay. We don't have all the time in the world, and sometimes having a quick refresher can help us more so than a full length video. And that is okay. Either or is fine. So, I do try to post on there regularly as possible and really make things more accessible for you guys. So, you guys have more resources to use and utilize. And going on to my second bit of information, I have also opened up a Quizlet and a Patreon for you guys to use. So the Quizlet, I have many flashcards that you guys can use. I am going to add more as we go on gradually on the channel, as you know, because things are going to be constantly updating, and I'm going to add more materials for you guys. So what you see now is going to change into more even on my Patreon. So same thing for that. Okay. So you guys can use these. Now I do want to say that the Patreon and Quizlet go hand in hand because if you view my memberships on my Patreon, you will see that you have more access to Quizlet because some of my Quizlets will be linked to my Patreon. So you have to buy a subscription to get some of my Quizlet sets, but please do not stress that out because I will still have free resources for you guys to use on those platforms. But if you want to take it first a step further and really explore out there, I suggest that. And you want more study tools, then I would check those memberships out and see how the Quizlet and Patreon work together on my end. Okay. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please contact me, leave a comment in the comment section, or anything like that. Because somebody may be having the same questions as you, or if you want to talk to me more privately, you can do that as well. So, yeah. All right. So, now going back to our scheduled program, we're going to go into our last and third example. So, I have 9a to the power of 2b minus 2ab to the power of 2 plus 5ab to the power of 2 plus 6a to the power of 2 plus 2ab to the power of 2 minus 8. So, remembering my first step, I'm going to want to remove those parentheses. Okay. And now going on to my second step, which matches with the first step, that's how I like to think of it. I'm going to want to group like terms. And so looking at my equation, I have 6a to the power of 2. I don't see anything that could go with that. I have 2ab to the power of 2, and I have another 2ab to the power of 2, and I have a 5ab to the power of 2. So I'm going to group those together. All right. And I have 9a to b by itself. I don't see any other term that can match with its variables and exponents. And then on my far right, I have my constant by itself, -8. Okay. So now that we have these grouped together, I know what to solve for. And while this problem do look a bit demanding, it's actually really simple once you color code and really see like which terms match. I personally like to color code when I'm looking for terms, common terms, because this gets a bit heavy on the eyes. So the main thing I really got to solve for is the ab to the power of 2. So I'm going to do negative 2ab to the power of 2 plus 5ab to the power of 2 plus 2ab to the power of 2. And once I add all of these together, I get 5ab to the power of 2. Okay? Because negative 2ab to the power of 2 plus 2ab to the power of 2 would actually get me 0, which only leaves 5ab to the power of 2 to be the applicable option. Now, because my other terms don't really have anything around it or anything to add it or subtract it with, I'm simply going to put this into constant form. And what this would look like is 9a to the power of 2b plus 5ab to the power of 2 plus 6a to the power of 2 minus 8. So I rewrote this in standard form, and this is how you solve adding polynomials. So I just want to reiterate the fact that you do follow 4 simple steps: removing parentheses, grouping like terms, solving those like terms, and then rewriting it in standard form. Those are the 4 steps you have to follow when adding polynomials. But this is the end of our video, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. This is Ari the Math Tutor signing off. Bye!